So I'm here to talk about failing at life, which I do exceptionally well. I feel like I've gotten to watch everyone talk, and I've really had a piece of my heart kind of connect with everything is said, because I feel every single one of those things that's been said. So I am the underdog. I come from the point of view of the underdog, and I think if anybody that feels like an underdog ever, like, we get fail fest, right? Like, that's like every single fucking morning that you wake up inside of your head and you're unsure where your traction is. So I'm the underdog. I'm from Baltimore. I love this city so much. I happen to grow up in a suburb of Baltimore called Dundalk, which is adroit at producing underdogs. Exceptional. And I was one of them. So I grew up a musician. Like, I've always made music since I was little. Even when I was like little, I was always hammering home on it. So I had every intention of making that record, you know, like that record that was going to change my entire life. And I spent the time in the studio, but I didn't spend the time in the bar. And I didn't because I was like, you know, fuck those guys. Like, when do they go in the studio to write music? They're always out at the bar, right? Like, how can I write the best record if I'm out at the bar? And what I learned on the other side of my 20s was, how can anybody hear the best record if you didn't go to the bar? And as funny as that is, like, it's accurate, right? Like, that's networking. You can be as much of a purist as you want, but, you know, when it comes down to the rubber hitting the road, like, if the car's up on a jack, like, you're screwed. There's no chance you're going to get traction. And that was one of my things. So for me, when I say that was my plan, I don't mean like, dude, I want to make records, like, that'll be great. I mean, like, I will die if I can't figure out how to wrest this thing inside of my chest out of me and make it make traction. And it wasn't because I wanted to be any better. It was because I deeply wanted to figure out how to communicate with people through something that I felt was very personal to me. It was something that I took very seriously. I still do take it very seriously. I still fail at making music in a successful way. But it's something that I thought was my piece of traction, because I saw the window of creativity, because I suck at math, because I suck at science, because I was always like that jittery kid, like, that was talking too much. Like, I wasn't like scholastically focused in. Like, I didn't give a fuck about that stuff. I wanted to be like I wanted to connect with people. That was more important to me. So, you know, I sidelined all the fundamentals in favor of like the heart, right? And it didn't work. It didn't work at all. And I pushed through, and I ended up going, and I have an amazing wife. She's so diligent. She's always done everything to support me in the best ways possible. And I get through like my first set of like massive fail, and I'm still gonna make that record. I'm trying to figure out the many things, but it's becoming my wife, like, cool. So I, you know, ixnayed the English degree when I was 19 to make records, and then I circled back to get a degree to do right by my girl, and I get an art degree. So on comes failure number 2. Don't get an art degree after you escape like a mass comm or an English degree. That's not a good idea. And what I wanted to do with this art degree wasn't like anything fundamental and obvious. I wanted to be an art handler, which I will establish that I had driven the Emancipation Proclamation through the night with like a beacon and like armored guards, and I had driven, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars of Picasso paintings down the Jersey Turnpike with armored guards. But at the end of the day, that's just a truck driver with white gloves on. And it pays like it too. So I'm doing that. Like, I'm doing everything that I can. All I'm searching for in life is traction, right? At one point, I'm stocking milk in the Trader Joe's at 3 in the morning, and I'm driving into work at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like cranking Katy Perry jams because it's all I can do to rally like my spirit that early in the morning. And I'm literally like seeing like billboards that say like the most topical shit ever, and it's literally like I'm crying my eyes out driving to work, because all I know is that I'm going to waste my time, and all I know is that I've got this great thing that I want to get traction on, and I can't get the wheels to hit the road. So like, it's devastating, and it's getting worse, right? It's getting worse. Like, the chance that I'm going to find traction in all these spaces that I've idealized are disappearing. They're disappearing, they're disappearing. And it's not getting any better. Even when I made it, when I finally got out of the grocery store and got into an art handling truck, it was like, you know, great, like Valhalla. Except it pays $14 an hour and you're on the road for 7 days a week, solid, hanging out with a dude in a truck, which was incredible, I might add. That was the best stuff about it. But it was grueling and it was not sexy, and more than anything, it wasn't going to transition to a career. So I'm doing all of that stuff, and I'm literally on this barge of my artistic career, and it's sinking, and we're burning, and my spirits are literally like on the rocks, and I'm trying, and like I hit this moment where I really realized, like, holy shit, man, you gotta get off this battleship. Like, somehow you have to figure out how to save your expectations in life, because if you don't, you're sunk. Like, this is gonna be the end. Because I didn't know it was that important. Like, this is what I was gonna do. Why I'm here. And I'm sinking. So I got a baby coming. It's like looking brutal. And these dudes, you know, one dude that I don't know at all, who's my business partner, and another guy who was my business partner, and he isn't anymore. He was our connecting point. I had always had this idea for like a photo, but not a photo booth company. I just went to a wedding in Maine, you know, on a lawn, people watched you, and I was like, this is performative, and it's cool, and like, it feels neat to have somebody like watch you like smile or do whatever you're doing. So like, I had told people about it over the years, and these guys had gone to a wedding in Chicago, and they had experienced kind of like an early version of it, and came back, and I'm like, I think they presented the idea because they thought I was going to be like, I don't want to get involved in it, and they could just do it. And I was like, well, I'm failing pretty good here, so like, it seems like fun. You guys seem cool. I don't know what I'm going to do. And you seem like fun. And also, this feels about like the most humiliating like trade-out that I could possibly do. Like, you know, great. So like, you go to make a record that's going to change everybody's in the world, and instead, you're going to start a photo booth. I'm not a person that's real comfortable with cliche. I'm not like a kitschy person at all. Like, I don't put props on in photo booths. So in that regard, it felt so absurd. But at the same time, it was this fresh potential. And frankly, it's where the magic was laying. So I effortlessly stepped onto the barge. Like, I think about it, I can see it in my mind. I close my eyes, like, I'm headed this way, and here comes the photo booth barge. And I literally, and I had known that there was going to come this moment where I could lay it down, and I was going to have to be comfortable with laying it down. And I laid it down. And I kind of assumed at that moment that my life was going to change, and that I wasn't going to, like, that I wouldn't make records, that I probably wouldn't make art anymore, that I was stepping away from this pursuit of the creative in favor of this pursuit of, you know, stability and a way of life for my children and for my wife and for the people that I'm responsible to. And what happened on the other side of that massive failure is the greatest success that I could have ever hoped for, and that's because it gave me the opportunity to fully realize that the medium isn't always exactly what it's about. You know, like, it's not always about the way that your message isn't always going to come out, that you're not going to gain traction in the way that you specifically assume that it's going to happen, and that when you open yourself up to the potential of failing, of recognizing that thing that you think is the right fit for you might not be the right fit for you, or like not accepting it, not having an option, but having to jump off it, that on the other side of that jump is the entire rest of your life. And I think that it speaks to what everyone said here, whether it's the guy in the military who can look back now at what he did and be like, oh yeah, like I look back now and I'm like, fuck, like, to have to tour a record sounds like the worst thing ever. That's not what I want. That's not me. Like, that's not me. Like, I like to be like alone a lot. Like, it's a big thing. It's a big thing for me. And the narcissism of being an artist, when you need on board to be like, I still dig all that shit, but I'm not the guy that can put it up there and be like, look at my shit, it's amazing. It's just not me. So looking back on it, I can see very clearly why I failed, because I was setting myself to fail all along, because it's not what I desired. So in terms of like you kind of ruining your potential, like, we do it to ourselves, because innately I think we sometimes know what we're trying to do, and that's not a good fit. And you know, great story that I have to tell tonight is that it's humility. When you learn to live with humility, it's the greatest asset that I think that any human being can possess, because humility really, it shows your empathy, and it helps you to grab that by leaps and bounds, and that's what makes you successful every day in life. It's not, all the other stuff comes after the relationships that happen immediately, and what it's allowed me to do is realize that that's what I'm great at, and what I always wanted to do. Like, I wanted to connect with people. Like my business partner, he handles the math. Like, I fail at that shit every day. I'm not good at deliverables. It's not me. Fundamentals, it's not me. Communicating the big message and the desire that we have as a company, the desire that we have to grow something amazing here in Baltimore and help Baltimore,